Okay. Hi.
So this is the Heather, Kamila, Heather mutual humans interview.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
who are you? Who am I?
yeah, we're starting with presenting ourselves. So I am going to present you or no?
No, I think we can present ourselves.
Okay.
Would you like to say your name and where you are?
Yes, I am. Kamila. I am now in my flat, where I'm thinking of maybe one day to be my office. Maybe it's a small flat in a small city in Poland. Maybe not that small, but which is well, not necessarily the biggest city in Poland. And yeah. And what about you? Can you say your name and where you are now?
Yes. I'm Heather Keys, and I am in my home office in Durango, which is in northern Mexico, which is where I've lived in Durango for more than 9 years, actually 11 years now. And I've lived in Mexico for 18 years. So I'm originally Canadian, but now I'm actually a Mexican citizen. So I am at home.
Hmm. Home. Okay. Yeah. Well, and home and yeah. I mean, I'm still, I guess, searching for my home. I've been living here for 6 years, 7 maybe. And for the last year, I am renting a flat, which is really opposite my flat with my boyfriend. But still, it is not a home there. So I don't know. Yeah. And what about your qualities, Heather, as a human being? What would you?
Well, why don't we talk about us first?
Yeah.
Can we? Yeah, because the question that we have for
Yeah.
multiple people is, what is
Yeah.
the story of your relationship,
Yeah.
or who are
Yeah.
you to each other?
Yeah.
So what are we? We need to have this conversation. I
Yeah.
think of you, I can say something, I guess.
Yeah.
I think of you as a friend and a colleague. And for some people, that's really strange because I actually do have friendships with people that I've really never spent a lot of time with in person. But I don't make friends with random strangers on the internet. It's usually people I meet for like a day or 2 days at a conference. And then there's interest in the person, just kind of finds a way to continue. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, this is this seems like a general tendency these days. I mean, because on this the same way on my side. I mean, like I obviously have some close friends that live well in Poland, but some of my also dear friends, including you, live abroad, and well, I remember you somehow, somewhat from Toronto, but not that clearly, and we haven't actually well met again after Toronto in person.
No, we haven't actually. Since we decided to do things together, we have not met in person.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember seeing you across the room at the dance in Toronto, and
Ah,
you and John and other friends, and I think Stefan, you were
uh-huh.
playing and you had a camera and you were dancing. And I remember thinking, that looks like a really interesting person. I would like to go over there and I would like to dance and play with you guys. But I had to go have dinner with my kids. So it was kind of cut off. But
Yeah, it is interesting. I remember you also from Toronto, and there was a cabaret night. I don't know how to call it, but I remember you standing with your kids somewhere well, in the front of this hall or of this room. And I remember that John knew you already, and I kind of thought, oh, yeah, he's lucky. I wonder how what she's like, and so on. Really? Hmm.
So I think one of the things that we have in common is curiosity then. And maybe we should, talk a little bit about how we started the project.
Yes, yes. So the project, in other words,
Wait, let me ask this like an interview question. What is this project for you?
Yeah, but I just wanted to say that like as a consequence of what we've already said, that this project has found us, like yeah. So what is this project for me? I mean, so whenever I am meeting someone and I have another call with someone from Gestalt community, I am somehow coming up with a new answer to this question. Well, yeah, but or my answer is more and more clear. So at the beginning, I just wanted to do something with you, and the interviewing is something that I really enjoy doing as a sociologist. So and I like, and I am used to doing it. So yeah, and yeah, so it was like, kind of an instant decision. And it's funny because I remember the very moment I was with my best friend somewhere, abroad, and we were like on a weekend kind of tour in Spain. And one morning I woke up earlier, and I just thought, no, I need to answer this email and just to, and reach out for you, and I remember then I spent some time writing, an email on the AGT listserv.
Mm-hmm.
Such a story, yeah.
I had no idea this started in Spain for you.
yeah, and that's why I'm and I'm mentioning this, yeah. Mm.
Well, I remember I was also asking myself, like when I'm sitting here waiting for someone to come on for the interview, I was like, why am I doing this? And I remembered, it came to me, I think last week, that when I must have been about 10 years old, about my daughter's age now, because it was grade 4, she's in grade 5, so yeah, I was 10, we were told to go and do an interview for a school project. And so I had to find someone I was interested in and who would talk to me. And so I went next door and I interviewed my neighbor. And she was an Italian immigrant in Canada. And she had immigrated after, just right at the end of the Second World War. And her English was not very good, but I remember sitting there and asking her very, very serious questions, like my 10-year-old self. Where did you come from? What is it like where you used to live? What is your favorite food? And like within Italian, that was a whole story. And that was my first interview. And she remembers that. And she's still alive. She's 93 years old. And
Wow.
she still remembers the day that that little person came over with a paper, very serious, to ask her questions. So I think it's just me being me. And I always want to go and like poke people and find out more about them. I'm just like, hey, can I ask you really invasive personal questions? And it's part of being a therapist, but I think it's just curiosity. I also studied social anthropology, so it's like, it's a habit now.
Nature. Would you say? Yeah.
It's a habit. It's part of my nature.
Yeah. And
it's been really nice to have company during this COVID thing.
But it's the interesting thing is that yeah, we started our thinking of the project and conceptualizing it, although it was not too much to conceptualize because we wanted it to be fun. I started but anyway.
Yeah, we, absolutely.
Yeah, but it was, and then the COVID started. I mean, this pandemic started, and for some people, you know, people ask me in the interviews, "Oh, great! What a great, you know, resonance to this pandemic times," which is not, but yeah, but it is. Well, it has become.
We thought of doing this before, but
yeah. But coming back to you as a 10-year-old girl and this curiosity, yes, you know, I'm having so much fun asking people and being with people, and it's really like something else than being a therapist.
Oh yeah.
And something else than being a sociologist. I mean, interviewing or you know, using this narrative. We do this autobiographical narrative interviews. But anyway, yeah, I like, as you said, like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Seeing how
so
people somehow develop, elaborate, and open up and smile, or yeah, everything is.
And I like that it's just kind of being with what is, and we don't have a responsibility to do anything. We don't have to sort, we don't have to classify the information. It's just there, and that's all it is. It's like holding the space and just letting the people be, and I like that. I enjoy that.
And for me, I need to underline this here, Heather, that it was you who actually somehow refocused my attention to do it like Gestalt way. I mean, like, you know, I was so, I mean, I started to think, I remember, oh geez, we'll have to do this kind of you know, kind of concept. We will have to make up some with some ideas, concepts, you know, a scientific way of
methodology, framework. No.
yeah, exactly, these things. And then you said something which was in me, but I didn't dare, you know, even in front of myself to say, yeah, things may be so simple and so beautiful and so fun, so much fun. Really, I remember that feeling, how much relief that brought for me. Yeah. And freedom.
We can thank Stella Resnick for that, because Stella Resnick brought the word playfulness back into my life at one point. And so I'm just like, this is all a game. It's just playing. We're playing, and this is fun, and it's wow. I really like it. So
okay.
Anyhow. So
yeah.
Who are you? Who am I? Who are you? How? It's funny. I always wonder, how would I answer that today?
Yeah, I haven't.
It's always different. Depends who asks. It depends what day it is.
Yeah, exactly. Would you like to start?
I don't know. You can if you want.
Well, oh, shit. I don't know.
So who are you as a person? And we ask about passions and qualities and interests. And I think we should add values, because that's something that people answer about too.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. So I guess that I will continue with what we've already been discovering about each of us and yeah, each other. That I am somehow a this mixture of playfulness and kind of scientific mind, or I don't know, brainy person, if this is right word. So anyway, I am really like of these two poles, I guess, that sometimes that I can really discuss things, I mean, very complex one, and I can at the same time, you know, feel like, oh, I need to suddenly I need to play, because otherwise I will go mad. And so I sometimes with a colleague of mine with whom we do some you know, phenomenological study, and we meet every week to discuss things. This is heavy and this is very dense, but at the same time we have a lot of laugh during those meetings. And now, thanks to this, you know, online, I would say thanks even to this online meetings, it's really like I can actually see myself how I'm really behaving. And well, but yeah, I would say that that these are my two legs, if there is such an expression in English, or if that makes sense. And I've learned somehow, and I've worked a lot to be somehow proud to be like that, on those two legs, I would say. Yeah, so that is how I could answer, like, yeah, spontaneously. Mm-hmm.
Anything else about yourself, your passions, your values?
For sure, but yeah, but I yeah, I got somehow moved, because it's been really difficult to integrate those two sides of me, because as you can imagine, they somehow include each of this extremes. Extremes even include different characteristics, and yeah. So yeah, but putting this aside, well, I like clothes, and I like, you know, going to second hand shops and spending like hours there, and I like to do it with some of my friends, and picking up some things for them, having fun out of it. And it's yeah, and it has become my kind of my passion, my yeah, I like that. I like going to art galleries, and I enjoy really art. And I also have this, you know, a serious part, art, and I can speak a lot about that. And at the same time, I just love, you know, changing clothes, you know, improvising with them, yeah. And yeah, and my yeah, I somehow my energy for that is never ends, for you know, having fun and taking pleasure from it. So yeah.
I think we would have been really good friends if we'd lived in the same place, and we could have had a lot of things to do together.
Yeah, I can feel it when we text each other, and we speaking about stuff. Yeah. Oh, nice to hear it. Hmm. So, say something. I feel, you know, now.
Yeah, no. I can answer part of, my narrative history, my story of who I was, which is sort of part of who I am, is very much about balancing similar points.
Mhm.
Like I was a slightly different, unusual kid. I'm an only child, and my parents were divorced. I was raised with my mom, and then with my mom and my grandmother. So I spent a lot more time around adults than I did around, kids my age. Like I would play with the kids on my block, but most of my time was spent around adults. And so I would watch murder mysteries with my grandmother, and we would read like the same Agatha Christie mystery novels. And then I got into theater when I was 8 because my mom needed a pastime, and so she started doing community theater, and that was more adults, but I loved it. I spent 10 years of my life, almost 40 hours a week in a theater. um, but I was never an acting person. I don't act and I don't sing in public. So being on camera is actually really weird for me, because I discovered that I love directing. I loved seeing the whole picture and the way all of the elements moved and came together, and the whole figuring out the characters and how and why they do what they do, and why it makes sense if they move like this, and why. So I was basically gestalting in theater. So it's funny. And I was a gifted kid. Like I was in a special gifted program. And so, if I was kind of weird to start out with, then I was taught a lot of critical thinking skills and divergent thinking skills. And it was all about independent research and creative writing. And yeah, it made it very difficult then to fit in when my gifted program ended because I moved. So yeah, then I was like severely depressed when I was 13, and then I just had to figure out a new way to live my life, and so I started doing student exchanges. So that was when travel came into it, which is a huge part of who I've become, obviously, because I just didn't go home from my last trip, which was to Mexico. I was only supposed to be here for a semester. But 18 years and 3 kids later, I'm still here. So it was, all of that has to do with creativity and curiosity, and a lot, I guess Ruella would say, a lot of push. Like I really, because I was an only child, there were not a lot of people to say, don't do this, or don't be so loud, or I could take up as much space as I wanted. And so I got used to doing that. And I had support, like from my parents, and they were like, oh yeah, okay, you've got a new idea, go do it. And so I'd get on my bike and I'd come back like 5 hours later, and I'd come home. I remember going out one day, I came back, I was like, Mom, I just went and got a job. She's like, what? I was like, yeah, I just went and signed up, for kickboxing, and now I'm kickboxing. It's just, I've always had a lot of initiative, and so it's come across poorly in a lot of places in my life, especially living in Mexico, where it's not quite so well seen for a woman and wife and mother in small northern Mexico to have this much initiative and this much voice. But it really is who I am. Like I'm coming back into that now. So yeah, curious and creative and very pushy.
Coming back to that now, yes, this is something that yeah, resonates in me too. Hmm. Yeah, I guess yeah, somehow um, hmm, um, Yeah, I guess, yeah, because now I wonder about this creativity that somehow, yeah, I don't know how to. It's like what I want to say is that somehow that there was also moments of well, of some the depression also in my life. And I don't know how to put it, and why I'm saying this. It's not only to, you know, self disclose or anything like that. It's more about how difficult is to be yourself, is to be myself, is to somehow own those characteristics, the ones actually you mentioned. And in this country also, the thing you mentioned about being a woman in a small Mexican city. So in my case, being a single woman also for years in Poland, very Catholic country. So, and with this Gestalt ideology that was, and sociological critical thinking, lots of equipment, but at the same time, the ground which is saying, no, you have no no right, no chance. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's very much the, oh, congratulations, you finished studying now. You know, can you have some kids and make some cookies? That's,
Wow.
I hit that point in my life, and I'm saying that I don't know if that applies to you, but it's, yeah.
Mm.
It's depressing and it's difficult being a creative person and not always finding a place to fit in or to belong or to be welcome.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And
I know what I can't be. I know where I can't fit in. But it's very difficult to
yeah,
be that very Gestalt idea of authentic presence,
yeah,
because you need some support somewhere. And
exactly. And I like this idea of marginality, to be able to, you know, take advantage of this place or another. But it is a very yeah, difficult place to be in. So I remember this moment of Toronto, and this was the moment where, I mean, like also my relationship started, but you know, the Toronto and people there and the conference itself, relationship with John started, and slowly I you know, I started to somehow finding slowly starting to find a place for or support, and yeah, and it's been continuing yeah, until now, and it's getting better. But I just wanted to somehow give an honor, somehow acknowledge that this hard times are maybe yeah, to a large extent behind me, but it's not, it's been years. It's not like a year or 3 months.
yeah, it's, yeah.
So maybe it's
It's
something about values, no? I don't know what values, but it is something about what you mentioned. I don't know.
Well, I don't know, just it came to mind. We can see how it works on other people, but yeah, this is my response to you, Bob Resnick, because you said we should work on that question a bit. But I wondered what I would add to it or how I would frame it, because I think what I am curious about are values, and I'm curious. Obviously, the whole project is projection. I have like, obviously, we're projecting ourselves in the questions that we ask. I would wonder, I guess, what my values are and what would define me. And I think a lot of it is about, it's about the qualities that I'd mentioned, but I think it's more than anything else, it's about authenticity,
Mm.
honesty, like a very, very radical honesty, with myself, with other people. And at the same time, I am such a pacifist. Like, I am nonviolence. And I've had experiences in my life where I've realized, yes, I would literally let you kill me before I would reactivate a violent part of myself, which I do know. And one thing is, you know, debating with words, but another thing is like that really animal kind of violence. And I know that I'm not that. And so, yeah, honesty, pacific but playful encounters. But like I'm very clear about that do no harm kind of thing. Like I feel so bad, and it's a shame spiral if I say something that really actually hurts someone. So I'm really careful about that. Yeah, I think those are probably my major values right now that I guess I could say I'm in the process of organizing and reorganizing myself around.
Mm. Mm.
What
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah, I wonder about those projections. It's yeah. Well, um, yeah. I guess I also somehow care about authenticity matters a lot to me, and honesty, and I guess I'm still learning of how to be in the world and how to express and voice my voice, and at the same time not to harm people and not to judge. So I am learning how to oscillate between disagreeing and yet being curious, leaving space for letting go. So yeah, I am learning this, and I guess that even with you and with sometimes our exchanges about this project, how we are going to organize it, or day by day discussions. Yeah, I'm learning also from you, but also I mean from this project. So yeah, it is as if really yeah, being more and more in the world rather than outside the world, and sometimes occasionally popping, yeah, dropping. I don't know how to. Yeah.
Well, what you say, it's very true for me too. Like I'm learning how to dialogue, and I did not want to do this project alone. I've learned through Gestalt how to stay in dialogue, even when it's difficult and when it's uncomfortable. And I really need to practice. I really need more practice. But I knew that I didn't want to do this alone. And like, it's nice to have company, to be in and to stay in relation.
Yeah, and to stay in relation, and somehow when it comes even to yeah my own self, there needs to be a relation with my parts of with some parts of myself that I already also described, that because they sometimes don't listen to one another, and yeah, and I can become so disembodied, sometimes out of fear or whatever, and sometimes I am too overwhelmed with emotions and I can't think logically, and yeah. So this is
We should
really
go to therapy.
sorry.
We should go to therapy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. This project is therapeutic in some ways.
Yes, I think it's occupational therapy for sure.
Yeah,
It's doing things and keeping busy in a therapeutic way.
yeah.
Should we ask another question? So
Yes.
I'm curious, who has impacted you? Who has shaped who you are in your life?
Mm. Mhm. Yeah, people answer this question differently or escape this question differently. Yeah, I feel like escaping too. I mean, like, but yeah, but it's at the same time, it makes me happy that I can like on the radio people like want to say, oh, and I would like to thank my I don't know aunt or father. Uh, but it is yeah, but I am, I guess, at the moment where I can really be thankful and grateful to my parents and to my grandma, who is still alive, as you know, and she had her birthday some days ago, 95, and yeah, and yeah, but I'm still, you know, there is some part of me that is angry with them. So it's not that everything is really clear here. And I am more aware of people who are important for me and are having impact on me now. And these are my friends and colleagues, and they are mostly from this Gestalt community rather than from anywhere else, in fact. Yeah, but I um, mm, mhm. Yeah, so maybe I don't know if I want to now mention them in particular. Yeah,
You don't
so
have to.
mm,
Hmm.
yeah, but I'm thinking of them dearly, and yeah, and it is really exciting for me that they are changing. I mean, changing in this sense, or they are the new people are coming and are inspiring for me, and not only inspiring, they are also yes, very supportive, and yeah, I'm lucky. I can say I am at that. Uh, yeah, I am lucky. Mm.
Hmm. Yeah. We share a lot of Gestalt friends and colleagues, and I feel the same way when you say that. It's like, yeah, there are a lot of people who really matter to me right now, and they may not be relationships from 20 years ago, and they're not people who trained me or who, you know, I look up to from down somewhere else. It's kind of the people who are around me right now. That's those are important as well. I don't know who. Every time I ask the question, it's like, oh, there's this person or there's that person. Today, if you asked me, it would be this person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Now I'm wondering who it is today. Like who would be the most person or the person today who has had the most impact on who I am?
Ah, funny. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe it's because of what I was saying about my education. It may be my grade 6 and 7 English teacher, because she taught me creative essay writing and critical thinking, and taught me how to structure projects for myself. And she showed up for me in my personal life as well. Like my English teacher, 5 years after I'd moved out of the city, came to my father's funeral. And I think she was the one person who was there for me, like to support me. So, yeah. And yeah, probably her. Hey, Mrs. Collington, how's it going? Yeah, and we stayed in contact. So she actually taught me a lot about the value of relationship and about continuity. And yeah, that sometimes it's not about just going to work and then being done with the person. So yeah, that actually has really shaped quite a lot about me. Because sometimes I find it very hard to just have a project relationship or just have a workshop relationship or something, and then the person disappears and I'm like, well, what about the person? Like, I know the experience is over, but what about the person? The person matters. So yeah, I think that's where I get a lot of that from. And having moved around a lot, the people who matter to me are the people who have been able to stay in touch and who work on relationship. So there's been a lot of people that I've cared about, but that have not been as invested in connection and relationship as I have been. So I've had to figure that out, because otherwise, you know, I go too far into something and somebody else is not quite there, so we don't meet. But yeah, I've learned that it's possible. And if I hadn't met her and other people who do respond and meet in relationship, I would have lost a lot of faith in myself, because I've had to find other people who work the same way that I do to understand that it's okay for me to work the way that I work. So yeah. Well, okay. Your turn. Oh wait, hold on. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, that's very kind of you. Now I've unfocused my camera.
Yes.
So what event or circumstance has shaped you while I compose myself here? What has made you who you are? What circumstance?
Well, circumstances. Well, it is a difficult question. I mean, like, yeah, because I've been somehow back in history and somehow left you for a moment. Sorry.
See, it's very different when this becomes a dialogue and we're both here than when we're just back asking the questions. I'm noticing that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. It's well, it feels like It feels like it's as if there were for sure moments in my past that shaped me, and yet they are still somehow yeah, maybe painful somehow for me, that that it's so difficult even to touch on them. But because I can obviously say you know, an optimistic version of my past. I don't know how to put it. Optimistic, yeah. But I can sense that there are some things that are not so you know, overworked. I don't know how to put it. I can feel it, and they for sure had an impact, you know. And so for me, it's easier to stay in present, yeah, in present, and to. I wasn't aware of that, and it's only when you ask this question. Obviously, there are, yeah, there are, yeah. So the question was,
what event or circumstance has shaped who you are?
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's difficult now to answer. You know, I will maybe I will have some time to, and maybe come back to this question later if I yeah, I feel like coming back to this question.
Sure.
Mm. 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 And what about you?
I think I can be brief about this one. Is that death, basically. Death is an event, and it's a circumstance that it's really shaped me. My father's death, my daughter's death, um, the death of some very good friends and mentors. Yeah, death. And that it shapes me because it comes with the other side, which is just being aware of how I'm not dead and how I don't want to live as if I am dead. So yeah, I mean, my father died when I was 17, and on his tombstone is Carpe Diem, you know, so it's really cheesy, but it's a part of who I am, because I have a genetic illness. It's a rare disease. It's called Fabry-Anderson's disease, which means that I may die, you know, like my family members on my dad's side, before I'm 60. Like my aunt died when she was 40, my dad died when he was 50. I'm almost 39, so, you know, it's death. Like, I'm very aware that there have been a lot of times that I could have died because of the way I lived in my 20s. But I'm not dead. I'm very much alive. And yeah, like Alan Schwartz told me in an interview, that being alive is joy and pain. And I don't want to avoid either one of those, because the alternative is being dead. So I guess death is a circumstance that has really shaped how I live.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, it is, we are really like in this co-emerging and co-creating space right now, no matter the ocean and oh, and miles, kilometers. Yeah, because I can feel that it was, yeah, that I got at that point, and you articulated that, because I don't know death that much. It is still a very unknown space for me, because yeah, those people who are so close to me, they are still alive, but I somehow am very aware of pain, and I also know the joy. But I have been, yeah, I mean, now when there is this pandemic, I am very aware, and I have had those moments of being very aware of death, and I don't know how to continue, but I am somehow, yeah, but this is this kind of space that was so hard for me to put into words. Yeah.
So should we talk about Gestalt?
Yeah, let's talk about Gestalt. Yeah, it's
how did you get there? Sorry?
Yeah, I just want to say, let's talk about sex. There's the song of Salt and Pepper. Yeah. I don't know if you remember, because we are from the same generation.
We could, or we could talk about Gestalt instead.
Yeah,
I have more Gestalt than sex in my life. So.
Yeah, but and at the same time, it's like. And I somehow correlate those those two now. Like,
well, I think Stella would say it's about pleasure. It's all about pleasure.
It's about pleasure, about yeah, kind of embodiment, body sensing. That I remember my first, recollection of Gestalt has a lot to do with my therapist, who was a Gestalt therapist, and she kept asking me about how I am feeling in my body. And
your face, you're just like, what?
And yeah, first of all, feeling, then in body, what is she talking about? You know, I at that moment I was 26 at that moment, or 27. Anyway, I was like, I did my I was like writing my PhD dissertation, and I was like, I was really, yeah, I knew a lot about sociology, and I think I was, about the subject I was referring to, and those questions were like, I didn't know what she was talking about. This was terra incognita or whatever for me, completely. So I came to Gestalt through my frustration with the world of science, with the world which was very cold for me at that time, which was very full of fear that I can now name, but I wasn't able at that time. I knew that I wasn't feeling good and that perhaps there is something else in the world than this coldness, than this kind of this embodiment that I guess I experience day by day, and only crying on some at some moments, I don't know, in some isolation, I don't know, but and couldn't really understand why I am crying, and whatever. So it started with therapy. And I didn't know at that time what therapy really is, what a psychotherapist is, and what is the difference between a psychotherapist and psychologist. And really accidentally, my German teacher at that time, she said, she recommended to me a Gestalt therapist, and I went there and I spent there like the next 4 or 5 years of my life, during which I also started Gestalt training, because I thought, well, at least I will start and see, because the first year or this opening year is really like group therapy, more or less. And after this year, I will decide if I want to continue and how this can be combined with my being a sociologist, because I didn't leave university, although I wanted, I wanted very much, but I didn't, and so this is how I found myself there in Krakow, in my training school.
Yeah, I started in therapy too. I started in psychoanalysis in Buenos Aires. I was teaching English, and everybody would cancel their English class to go to see their psychoanalyst. So I thought I should get one of those too. I probably need some work. So I started doing psychoanalysis, and then I went to a theater of memory group. So it was psychodrama, but it was about, collective social trauma and healing, and I was really interested in that. I found out years later that that's also very Gestalt, and like the education, the gifted program, that all sort of came from George Brown, who also came from Esalen and from Fritz. So there's always been some Gestalt in my life, but how I came into it was, enough time in therapy. My therapist said, "Oh, you should probably just go do the training." And I needed a degree. I decided not to go back to Canada and do my master's. So I did 2-year training. I did it in 3 years here in Mexico. And when I finished, it took me a long time to actually learn Gestalt as I know it now. Like the training was just to get the paper, basically. And I learned a lot of things about what Gestalt is not for me. And it's actually, like, to come back to the sex, I mean, haha, yes, but no. I learned in my training that I didn't like everything being sexualized, and, that there was something more that I could get to through Gestalt, like a different kind of intimacy that didn't have to be sexualized, and that there was actually a way to be even in playful and erotic spaces without having to sexualize relationships or to make them like couples relationships. So that was really interesting to me and really important. And so I've learned, this is how I'd answer the next question, which is, what is my favorite part of Gestalt is I learned Gestalt more through workshops and more through weekend
Mm.
seminars and like bringing people to Mexico because I really want to know what they do, and then staying and being their interpreter and things like that. I've learned most of the meaningful stuff about Gestalt by doing that, not by how I was trained. Um, and so conferences and workshops have been where I got it. But what I'm interested in about Gestalt is the way that it lets this curiosity and this intimate curiosity about people be okay. Like it's not morbose, it's not voyeuristic, it's not like disgusting and repulsive and bad. How curious I am about people. And so Gestalt has been fascinating for me just because every kind of person and every kind of human experience seems to be able to fit into Gestalt. So I'm like, this is it. I don't have to go anywhere else. It all fits here. It's all here. It's all like, it's all okay. But there are also ethics, like there are rules and there are ways. And the whole idea of interpersonal ecology, like being in Gestalt for me is like, it's okay for us to be here together and we'll figure out how to do it without anybody getting hurt. And yeah, I'm just like, oh, I love this. I don't want to go anywhere.
Mm.
So that's how I got there, and that's why I stay, and that's what I like about it. So what's your favorite thing about Gestalt?
Oh. Yeah, it is somewhat connected also with this previous question about how I came to Gestalt, because I, even though I may somehow repeat what you said about that the most important things I've learned through workshops, conferences, something like that, workshops or some kind of trainings. But from the very beginning at my training institute, it was shocking for me that actually the things I learned at the university and the things that I liked so much, but which was, yeah, phenomenology, it is possible to actually put into practice, which was really like something. I remember it now because I forgot about this kind of, kind of wow, shock for me, that it is possible actually to put what those phenomenologists, existentialists wrote, and it is here, and maybe at my training years I wasn't taught that there is some eat of the situation and relational turn within Gestalt therapy. But I learned, this that about this intimacy and about this contact and about this embodiment, which I wasn't even taught that it is embodiment. So anyway. Really, so practice. So I learned from somehow from practice, and then somehow, yeah. When you ask me about what I like, yeah, what I am mostly attracted by, so I like. Yeah, I like this idea of the process and how it evolves, and I laugh even though I am really all the time, every time very scared, even like with almost psychotic experience of the group, but I love to be in a group and see how things evolve, how figures emerging, And so I like to observe it and to be part of it. I like it of the situation to somehow coming back to that. That I know how it is called now. And I don't know yet how to call it, but I also I don't know how to call it, because it is somehow connected with field theory, but it is something what we have been discussing with you, with John, with Bernie, with Laura, about NGV, about your initiatives in Mexico, how to locate them in a larger field. So I don't know. I like to maybe to be also outside of a therapy room, and this is how I am coming back to sociology, that I really is kind of left for years, being so somehow so and excited about Gestalt world. I somehow I became so alienated and I am coming back and somehow reconnecting with sociology and somehow feel that it is maybe a good place for sociology here within this Gestalt therapy world than pure sociology in academia. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So kind of.
Yes, those would be the questions about your interest and your involvement in Gestalt,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
See, we're covering it all. It's almost like we know what the questions are, right?
Yeah. Wow. What about you and your involvement and your contributions and
I'm really selfish. I'm really selfish in that I do the things that I need to be done. So that's my involvement, is I start doing things. I don't think that I'm really, it's the theater part of me. I've realized that I like to build events and structures and I'm institutionless, I'm homeless, like I don't teach at a certain institute anymore. I don't get invited to other people's parties very often. So I've learned how to make my own fun, basically, but without being arrogant and assuming that I'm doing things that have never been done before. I just honestly try what I need to happen. Like I try to create a space for it. So if I really need like a weekend workshop, I will invite someone who I really want to see to come down and give a workshop. If I really want to try or have a kind of conference experience, I will run the conference. Like if I want a conference that's in 2 different languages and, goes whale watching, like, okay, I'll run that conference. Like I do that. And I like doing that. And that's what I'm going to keep doing. Because part of me is like, it's like, okay, I have these 2 wonderful children who I like spending most of my day with. Like, thanks to Ruella Frank, now I'm somebody's relational ground. So like I'm under my 4-year-olds most of the day. And we're playing together and I don't want to go get a job. Like, sorry, capitalism, like, I'm not going to play because, if I can die quite realistically, like if I could be dead by the time I'm 50 or 60, I don't want to go out and get a normal job. I don't want to be like, oh, I have my Gestalt skills and I'm going to go work and then, I'll live later. So what I'm doing with Gestalt is what I'm doing with my life, which is what I'm doing with my kids, which is what I'm doing with my interpersonal relationships. It's all together. And it's a series of like circuses and theater productions and retreats and going places with the people that I love, because love is a huge word for me. Like I feel so many things really intensely, and love is definitely one of those. So like, yeah, I love what I do. I love the people I work with. I love the people who come and do what I offer. And I'm just really grateful. Like, I'm really grateful to the people who show up and interview with us and who play along, because that lets me live my life. And I'm just really appreciative that Gestalt is kind of a framework for that. And it seems to hold up. My camera's gotten fuzzy.
Yeah.
But it'll come back. So that's what I'm planning on doing. That's what I am doing. That's what I'm interested in. That's how I live. Yeah. Answered all the remaining questions. What about you? What are you going to do with this now that you've reconciled with sociology? What would you like to do with Gestalt in the future?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I just wanted to say how, that I wanted you to come back to you being a director, because you are amazing with that. Yeah. So, wow. Yeah. And coming back to my reconciliations and so. Yeah, it is amazing how the things that I somehow conceptualized in the past, that okay, I know that I want to be in Gestalt and somehow bring some sociology into it, and be in sociology and let it be influenced by Gestalt therapy theory. And I knew it. I mean, I tried to somehow frame it 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and but I was so afraid, and I didn't have enough support in myself, but in people. And now when things are when I am simply in the world among people, even though there is this pandemic out there, and it is not really good time for the planet, but maybe it is, but okay, and never mind. I feel really
I don't think we can fix that today.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for saying this, because I felt this kind of responsibility. But anyway, I can see, and it's funny to observe that my dreams almost are coming true. It is like with this reading group that you are aware of, and maybe those people who will be watching it are not, that there is a group that I simply started for people, Gestalt therapists interested in social theories, and to read, to come and to process I mean the content, but also what is happening with us. And this is like a small example, but it is a great step for me. I mean, some months ago, and I wouldn't have imagined that. And now it came so naturally. Oh, yeah, after, I don't know, hot seat, last part of NGV conferences, I just thought, okay, I will do this reading group, and it is not only for reading art for the art's sake, or but it is like with this intention of actually, yeah, trying to understand how this sociological thinking can be applied. I don't know, within therapy or outside therapy, but for us therapists also, and how we can comment that. Yeah, and so it is not really only for reading, but yeah, so it is somehow my starting point, and I don't know, and we will see what else. I enjoy more and more being present on the for instance AGT listserv, and somehow express my opinion. Some months ago I was too scared, and you know that I've been even asking you a month ago, and now I am not that afraid, that I simply want to discuss things with people and see their different opinions. And if someone is not really nice, I don't know yet how to respond to that, but I will learn, I guess, with some help from my friends and colleagues. Yeah, so I somehow believe in process, and yeah, that there is really that the field will organize itself once this need is getting bigger, this need of somehow contributing some of my sociological knowledge and thinking to Gestalt world.
Yeah, I believe in process, and I believe in creativity, and I believe very much, because it's my own experience as well, that I had this argument with someone on the listserv a couple days ago. I said, I think that if you build it, they will come, and somebody else said no, and I said, well, yeah, and if they don't come, I don't care. My need is to try and to build and to do, and I do things for myself, and I appreciate that it has echo with other people. So, yeah. So, it's really nice to meet you. I think this is the longest conversation we've ever had.
Yes.
Do you want to add anything to this? Do you want to do anything more right now?
I guess no. No, it's I guess no. Like I feel, oh, it's a good moment, I guess, at least for me, to end up. I feel like, yeah, I'm also excited about going on, I don't know, having this travel tomorrow, and I need to finish my packing, but it's not about that. It is it's been really intense meeting, both in terms of emotions, but also somehow to grasp all your experiences and mine, and how these interrelate. So my I have I woke up today with a headache, and it is coming back, and it is
Sorry.
it's just wanted to say it's not like there is something else, you know, some unfinished business or whatever. It's just yeah, that I just need to look after myself, but I'm thinking also of you here, that it was also, I guess, as you said, intense experience. This
Yeah, and I think it was time. We've been trying to set this up for a couple weeks. We thought maybe we would be the first people to interview, but I think this is a good time, and I feel really good with saying, you know, this is who we are and this is what we're doing. And I like I like saying it in us. And I think I feel good about, you know, even sharing the connection that is happening here.
Yes,
So
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
well, thank you.
And I yeah, and I keep getting know you, getting to know you, or getting knowing you. I don't know, like both. And I yeah, I appreciate that we did it and we've done it, and it is a good moment.
Good. So
Mm.
thank you. Everybody
Yeah.
out there, send us an email. We can
Yeah.
interview you too.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Please do email us. Yeah.
Okay.
We are curious about people generally.